Welcome to another episode of Sit Down and Think, where we get the skinny on the latest happenings in animation. The Ghost of Molly Mcgee is one of Disney's newest series that boasts a strong cast to colorful characters, stories, humor, and songs. With season 2 of The Ghost of Molly Mcgee premiering pretty soon, I have the pleasure of talking with the two show creators, Bob Roth and Bill Motz.
Hello, great to be here.
It's great to have you. I just want to be sure I got your names correct, right?
That is correct, yep.
Yes.
I've had that problem before where I forgot to ask beforehand and I completely messed up a creator's name.
Our names are simple. Like your first guess is 99% of the time going to be right. So.
Okay, thank goodness, because that was something I was just like, oh God, I need to make sure I get that one properly. Had a mishap. Couldn't.
You nailed it. You nailed it, man.
Thank goodness. So, all right. With this show, I do have to ask, it's very unique, and I often wonder exactly what is it that inspired this series?
That's a good question. I don't know that we have a good answer for it. We've been asked this one a few times, and we should come up with a better answer, but like the best things just kind of spiral out of nowhere into your head and sort of land there. We had this idea, gosh,
it's like
15 years ago.
15 years ago.
And the thing of it is we carried it around because, there was something about it that we loved. We knew there was a show here. But it wasn't until we sold it to Disney and we were in development on it that we realized it's the story of our friendship. Like, I'm a grouch. I'd rather be left alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. Bill is an extrovert, gregarious guy who's always bringing people into our office. And I'm like, oh man, can't you just close the door and leave me alone? And, that's the Molly Scratch dynamic. And once we realized that about the show, it really flowed and clicked in a way that it really hadn't up to that point. So that's a roundabout way saying the inspiration for this is us. But we didn't, it took us literally a decade to realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. I can totally see that because with this show, it very much leans on that extro introvert sense, like having these two people, one way more chipper and just being a people person, and the other is like, I gotta hide. And you see it definitely in Scratch with the fact that he's a ghost, and he's like, okay, I just gotta go ghost here. I gotta get away from.
Let me just fade into the background if I can.
So that is interesting, and I think that's honestly a pretty genuine and honest way to say it's inspirational, because it's like, it's just yourselves. You're just putting yourselves into your work.
Well, once the executive pointed it out, it's like, this is, you guys were like, oh yeah, it is. Then we could really lean into it a little more, play up specifics, even I think certain things that bother Bob about me and whatnot,
and vice versa.
Okay, well, I do have to ask, because this kind of goes into a second question I had. I guess you probably technically answered this already, but it's like with Molly and Scratch, are they based on anybody else in particular? Because I know you just said it's based on you two.
Well, the other thing of it is they're also Ashley and Dana. Both of those guys bring so much of themselves. That's Ashley Birch and Dana Snyder. They both bring so much to the role. So many brilliant little ad libs in the way they interact with each other. I think our friendship was the launching pad, but those two are the rocket ship.
Right. And also, Ashley, we first met her bringing her into the writer's room early on in development to sort of help kind of find Molly's voice and energy without any thought that she would be playing the character. So she was approaching from a writer's standpoint, and kind of I know we just liked her energy and her point of view. And then someone said, I think toward the end of the day or whatever that we were working with her, like, she does voices. And we're like, really? So anyway,
interesting.
And that became the beginning of conversation. So, so she infused herself definitely into it. In fact, we modeled Molly's heritage and everything around Ashley.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Scratch's hair around Dana.
I will say, like, I grew up with Dana Snyder like because from his Aqua Teen days,
Oh,
that
absolutely,
was my
yes.
introduction to him, and the way he plays Scratch, I'm like, it's Master Shake, but kid friendly, obviously,
Yes,
because Master
yes.
Shake just raunchy.
Yeah.
And with Ashley Birch, it's interesting because like I've been aware of her for some time because of her
Sure.
internet days. Like,
Yeah.
she do skits, and she's a very versatile like voice actress because
She absolutely
like
is.
because the way she plays different characters, it's always you forget that that's her sometimes. Like the way she plays Enid on like LKKO, it's like, oh, that's far different. And the way she's playing Molly here, it's like, oh, that's very different. And
she
I
does
think that's
dramatic
amazing
stuff
that she.
in the video game work she does. It's
Yeah.
she's got range, huge range, and she can
Oh.
sing.
Which was something
definitely.
we didn't know we needed at first. Because
at first we were like, we're going to have songs in the show, but our characters aren't going to.
and not always.
Like
I mean, initially it was like we're just gonna every once in a while have a song, and and that became we're gonna always have a song, and that was our characters won't sing. Our characters are gonna sing most of the time, and so
we lucked out. We said to Ashley early on, like, hey, can you sing? Or are we going to need to? We can bring in somebody else to sing for you if you can't sing.
It turns out she sings beautifully.
Beautifully. Dana's major in college was musical theater, so it's like, phew. All right, our two leads can carry a tune, and burst into Broadway or whatever. So we got lucky there.
That is something I did enjoy a lot about this, is that you have these two people singing and they really do match pretty well together. Like you would think with Dana's more gravelly like voice and Ashley's more melodic tone that she can have, it would be a bit more of a contrast, but it's like, no, they actually do create a bit of a nice harmony that
they absolutely do. And shout out to Rob Cantor, our
composer,
the man who writes all our music. Writes all the songs, I should say. He's found ways to make them work together beautifully, song after song after song. So it's a tribute to his genius.
Yes.
Shout outs to Rob then.
Yep.
But that does bring me into another question. We're just segueing perfectly here.
Let's go.
But and a thing I noticed is like this show, it is basically it is a musical series, but it's a little more different in how it goes about it. In some instances you have, Molly and Scratch singing a song, but then in other instances you have like a background music or like montage songs.
Right.
And a thing I managed to pick up on, but I feel some others didn't, is some of those songs when it's like a background song or a montage song, sometimes it seems like a parody of a popular song at the time.
Sure.
Like the most notable is like the season 1 finale when Molly is like basically joyifying the ghost world and this one song plays and it sounds very close to like Justin Timberlake's "Can't Stop the Feeling" from the Trolls soundtrack.
We discussed with Rob inspirations. Sometimes the writers would put them in the scripts and say, I'm thinking a Dua Lipa kind of thing here. And when we throw all this to Rob, we throw him the script, including we discuss the paragraph that is the song burst with him, and we discuss, these are the inspirations we had. Do these sound right to you? And sometimes he's like, yeah, I absolutely see it. And other times he's like, you know what? I got a different idea. I'm going to go in a different direction. I promise you, just give me a week. It's going to work. And he'll go away and come back with something always brilliant. So,
really,
we're super lucky to have him.
I mean, that's, the funny thing about TV animation is it cooks along, and so our schedules are quick and fast, and so we need talented people like Rob to be like, okay, what can you do in a week here or whatever? And
thank goodness he's prolific and fast.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a testament to the series, is the fact that you could churn out these songs pretty fast, but still keep a great level of quality to it.
Exactly.
Like whether or not it's something that has to have emotionality to it, or in a lot of cases for the show, they could just be very comedic. Like I remember the one song with when Sharon was having to be a gig pig, and
Yeah.
she's doing all these different jobs.
That
and
is
this
one of my
song,
absolute favorite.
it just mentions these problems,
for a
and
living.
she's just like, yeah, and she's just like, wait, what was that one thing? And the song just playing off of that,
Toxic
like
mold.
it just
Yeah.
so it's just so funny.
And she breaks the fourth wall on that one. I think it's the first time in the show we break the fourth wall.
Right.
Yeah, which was fun. It made me laugh. You know.
It's definitely one of those things I really appreciate the comedy of this show is that it doesn't feel like a show where the comedy has to pick to be mean spirited. Like you could be mean spirited because of someone like Scratch or the Ghost Council being all you need to scare everything, but it finds a nice balance of having you like simple nice jokes, but having some more somewhat mean jokes in there in the mix as well. And I always find that fascinating that it's able to pull that off.
Well, that's absolutely by design. So thank you for noticing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we made a very intentional choice to not have cynicism be kind of in the show. Not to say there's points of sadness or disappointment or frustration or even losing hope at times, but Molly never takes on a cynical point of view.
And the other thing is we did not want to do a show with two characters who hate each other. We wanted to do a show where it's about loving each other despite all their differences and their different attitudes and there's friction, sure, but they're underneath it all. They're still best friends. So we moved very consciously and quickly through the early episodes to say like Scratch is going to warm to her pretty quickly. He's gonna by the time we get to the end of our first band shell episode. He is on board with Team Molly and has been charmed by her to the point where it's like, okay, this is my life now, and this is my afterlife now, and this is what I'm gonna be with.
Okay, yeah, that is something I did enjoy about it is how well paced this show can be, because a lot of the time, sometimes it's like shows can sometimes drag things out to the like next season or later season, but here you were able to have it start off as like Scratch just can't stand this person, can't stand the family, just wants them out and all that. But then but you do see sort of that heel turn, but it doesn't feel rushed or anything. It just feels like a natural progression of these characters and their interactions. And I think that's just that nice a testament to that idea of having more of a positive spin to these things.
Yeah. I mean, again, we could have taken longer to have Scratch warm to Molly, but I think it would have worn on us all, both as creators, and I think the audience would be after a while like, why am I sticking around watching this jerk be a jerk?
Yeah.
What's the fun in that? It's like,
well, I was thinking of the Good Place show. I was always impressed with how quickly that show would move through things that you were like, boy, a lot of series would just have spent like the whole season on this one idea, and they just kind of move through it and then move to the next thing. And I think that kind of helped inspire us a little bit to say, hey, we can kind of move through some of this a little quicker, because I think our audience is with us as long as they want to see the characters together and them growing together. And I think that same thing happens in season 2 where, now there's that sort of heartwarming image at the very end of season 2 where they're all together up in the attic and Libby there too. And they're, giving a big hug. Season 1, sorry. And so in season 2, then sort of starting off with, okay, this is where they are now, but what are the tension points that come at this point of your relationship? Where do you, because I think, all of us know with friendships that the longer you're in them, you get different kinds of tensions the longer you're in those friendships. And so we kind of explore that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what has me a bit more excited about season 2 is that it's like, okay, we're now in these different, like, normal for them now. They're best friends. They truly care and love each other. And now we need to see exactly where that friendship can go at this point.
So you're setting this up perfectly, exciting. Man. Like, this is where season 2 starts. The first episode is actually called The New Paranormal. And it's about, Molly and Scratch are best of friends. They're in total sync with each other. They're having a great time with each other. And then they get new neighbors who move in across the street, a family called the Chens. And the Chens seem to be a perfect match for the Mcgees.
They're like a best friend family. Yeah.
A best friend family. They seem like a perfect mesh, a perfect match for the Mcgees. But the problem is they're ghost hunters. And Molly doesn't learn this immediately, but after the point where she's fallen head over heels for this entire family, she learns, oh, they hunt ghosts, and my best friend is a ghost. And now Molly's tension is, what do I do with this? Like, I really like this family, but they want to, eradicate my best friend. So There's the tension for season 2. Thank you for setting us up so beautifully.
You're welcome. Because that was something I saw in the trailer. It's like, okay, ghost hunters are now in this world, basically. Mm-hmm. So it is going to be interesting to see them having to tackle that. And then from what you're saying, it's like, oh, they're best friends now. So it's like, okay, how do you balance that? It's like they got their job and that's their living.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for Molly. Molly's going to be, torn in a few different directions.
Yeah. Because at one level, the Chens are, very, very much like the Mcgee family and wanting to make the world a better place. And then there's this tension point that's kind of
it's just their way of making the world a better place is killing all the ghosts. So there's a dilemma for Molly to solve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be wondrous if Molly can inhapify this family.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I gotta say, I love that y'all came up with that term because it's like, I need to use that term. It works on so many levels.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but the Chens have their own version of it too. So stay tuned.
All right.
You'll see it in the new Paranormal.
Adding to the vocabulary.
We're missing a beat here, man. April 1st, Disney Channel. April 2nd, the first 5 episodes on Disney Plus. Don't miss them. There's really good stuff coming up.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm enjoying seeing now. The idea for Disney is that they're making new episodes, and then next day it goes right up to like on demand or on streaming, so people can keep up with it. Because I've always
and you know what? We just heard literally today, also going live on YouTube that very same day. So really, you have no excuse to say I don't have. If you say I don't have Disney Channel, I don't have Disney Plus. Everybody's got YouTube, man.
Yeah, you don't even have to have an account to watch YouTube.
Right. So no excuses for not seeing the new episode, the new Paranormal, season 2, April 1st.
Yeah. All right.
Now I will turn off shameless self-promotion mode.
I mean, basically this podcast is kind of a self-promotion.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
So really,
I just hate to be so naked about it, but we got stuff to sell, and we're selling it.
I mean, the show can sell itself when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, people vibe with it, and I definitely do.
Yeah, well, thank you. We do love the show. A shout out to our entire crew. Like, it has been a passion project for everybody who served on the Molly Mcgee crew. So, shout out to the entire team that makes us look good.
And part of it, too, man, is we were almost done writing season 2 when season 1 premiered.
Right.
So much, basically everything that you've seen so far and will see for the next number of months was all done before any audience had seen anything of it. And there is such an anxiety as creators and as the team of creators on the show of, we think we're making something good. Man, I hope the audience agrees. It's a big.
Please agree.
Yeah, please agree. It, like Bob said, it's a labor of love, and we have. This has been one of the most exciting things we've ever done, and I'm so happy that it's out there in the world. And I hope that people, and I very much appreciate that you say that you are connecting with it. That's means the world to us.
I mean, working in animation and television, it is such a long haul that we don't ever have the ability, or rarely have the ability, to walk into a crowded theater and sit in the back and see, like, are people enjoying this? So
Right.
it's so gratifying to hear you and other fans say how much they're vibing with the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem. I think you say like it's a labor of love, and honestly, it comes across in
Good.
a lot of the episodes, and the humor and the characters and the heart,
Good.
honestly. And like I watched this, and you just get so many positive vibes. It's like
Good.
it doesn't feel like, oh, in the background there must have been some problems. It's like, no, I feel like the way they're drawing these characters and how they're doing these jokes is like these people love what they are doing. I'm just getting that feeling.
I hate to put words into the mouth of our crew, but yeah, I think everybody would agree. We all love the jobs we have, and we loved working on this show. So
and people just constantly on the crew would plus add little something here or there, but what if we did this, or what if we had this idea, or instead of that, what if we did this? And it just was elevating the show at every single moment. And it's so fun to see it kind of come together. That collaboration made it, better than anything that would have just come directly out of our heads.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of collaboration, there's definitely a strong sense of community that we get in the series. What with Molly's insistence on happifying her hometown and the town going along with her, would you both agree that that's what sits somewhere at the heart of the series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well put. Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say that we've talked about how, and I mean, and happification is something she really wants in that community. And the central idea or word for the series is resurrection, because so much of, and it kind of comes out of, my hometown growing up was just a town very much like Brighton that was a manufacturing hub. And in the late 80s, the factories got shut down, and it threw a lot of people out of work, and the town kind of had to find itself again, reinvent itself, kind of had to find a way to resurrect from who it had been. So the town kind of needs to kind of come back to life. Scratch needs to come back to life. A lot of it, some of the other dynamics of the relationships of the show are all about kind of coming back to life, finding, a way back. And, ironically, as things turned out, pandemic hit us while we were in production. We shipped our first episode to the animation studio, Mercury, 2 weeks into lockdown, I guess was our first. And so we were having to figure out how to all, pivot to remote, pivot to how in the world we going to get this done. And we kind of collectively, the whole world was experiencing this, pandemic and all the impacts that it had, the people we lost, the people who were impacted, the businesses that were closed, on and on. And it really felt like, at least I think for me, working on this show was hopeful. It kind of reminded me that maybe, life comes back, things come back. We can find our way through. We can resurrect, out of this. And
I remember saying to Bill somewhere in the middle of this, like, thank God we're working on a show that is optimistic. Like, if we were in the middle of this pandemic working on something that was snarky and pessimistic and just mean spirited and no offering up no reason to keep going forward, I don't know how I would have made it through. It was a joy to sit down at this desk every day for those 3 years and be like, all right, I'm going to forget all the horrible headlines I just saw and work on something that makes me happy and hopefully will make the world happy someday.
Yeah, so. Bob worked from right where he's sitting, and I worked from right here for a very, very long time. And, I think the resilience of the studio and our crew to just pull it off. I think a lot of us, too, thought that there was no way, we could actually generate the right level of quality that was necessary for the show. And that maybe we'd have to, redub our actors or something. And man, our sound engineers, our recording studio experts figured out how to record people from their bedroom closets or
Out Loud Studios and Out Loud Studios and Advantage Audio. Everybody who works there at both those places, geniuses, absolute geniuses,
miracle workers, and Paul McGrath too, who kind of shepherd
at Disney.
Would help people figure out, like, okay, get this kind of microphone, put a blanket here, do this kind of stuff. And what was amazing is because we had to have things match with stuff that was recorded in $1 million studios, right? And somehow it worked, and I think that was the expertise of all those people kind of pulling together. So it turned, it was a part of me that sort of felt like the overall themes of the show were kind of getting lived out too, of community coming together, solving a problem, figuring out how to go ahead. So it felt like we all lived a little bit of the Molly McGee-ness while it was happening.
Yeah.
And you'll look for, it's already in season 1, but you'll see it in season 2. There's little reminders of the pandemic in background footage or, background design or whatever, like, a pumpkin wearing a face mask or something like that, just to sort of mark sort of the time in which it was made.
All right. Though it is interesting because this was something I was noticing with this show, is that it does have this focus on like the little guy, the struggling families and such. Sure. And it is interesting to see a family series focus so heavily on that. It's honestly especially interesting with how much Molly puts into building up the town and going so far as to help the economy, even trying to show off what makes Brighton special. And was that always supposed to be at the core of Molly's character?
Yeah, I mean, the economic element of it, to be honest, wasn't there when we came up with the original kernel of the idea. But as we developed it, once we sold the show to Disney, there was a 2-year development process. So once we said, okay, we've got Scratch, we've got Molly, let's start building out their world. That part came pretty early on. And, we wanted to make something that spoke to families out there, that, medical bills are still things that can devastate a family. The economy is still a rocky thing. We wanted to make sure, because we wanted to connect to families, but 2, we just thought there's probably some good entertainment in a family that can't solve every problem by just whipping out their wallet and throwing a credit card at something. There's story and emotion to be mined from a family that struggles to keep their heads above water.
And and
it's probably more relatable to
well, most people. What do they say? Most people are $450 away from a catastrophe. Essentially.
Right.
I mean, it's
which was that was the impetus for the Out of House and Home episode in season 1, where Dad takes a tumble off a ladder, breaks his arm, and that sends the family into a financial spiral where they almost lose their home forever. And, that was the kind of storytelling we wanted to. Our writers got so sick of hearing me say, we can tackle anything as long as we find a way to make it funny. If we can find a way to make it funny, we can address any issue under the sun. So, and hats off to our writers' room that they always were up for that challenge to say, we want to try something risky. We want to try something a little bit off the beaten path. And then finding ways to make sure that, even while Molly's dealing with her own homelessness, it's a funny episode and it keeps you engaged.
It's emotional. So, it's got it's got some really powerful stuff in it, but it's also, funny. And part of that too was, we work with consultants and experts to make sure that, we get this stuff right. But we also, I've been involved with a group that helps serve homeless families for a while, and Bob's helped out with some of those things too. And we even had a number of our writers come and also make a meal for these families and sit down and chat and kind of to kind of understand where a lot of these people on the surface are they have jobs, they are working, they are, there's all sorts of stuff. And some of them, their kids were going to school with my kids, and it was a shameful secret they were trying to keep, and that informed some of Molly's trying to keep everything is perfectly normal song kind of came out of that,
and all of it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say one of the things that struck me is I've received a number of messages online from people who said that episode particularly spoke to them because they were living that sort of secret shame, and they felt like for the first time their economic reality was being reflected in something they were watching. So we're incredibly proud of that, just that we got to do that.
It sort of speaks to sort of a philosophy Bill and I have of, we want to make shows that are funny and entertaining and silly and make you guffaw laugh. But we also want to leave you with something at the end of the day that is a little deeper and more than that. We want to, we've been given this tremendous opportunity by the Walt Disney Company. They gave millions of dollars to make a TV show. Here's millions of dollars. Now go make a TV show out of it. And that's a responsibility that we didn't want to squander on just, fart jokes, for lack of a better term. It's like, right. It's got to be about something. It's got to mean something, and it's got to leave the world a better place than we find it.
Yeah, we talk about the show needs to have heart, humor, and hope, and I think those are things that we try to go with. I think about Bob and I years ago were producing a show at Disney, and Tom Schumacher, who was at the time the president of Disney feature animation, and now I think he's still involved with theatrical productions, the Broadway productions. But and he was reviewing some art we had pinned up on the walls, and he suddenly stopped and turned to us and he said, "You have to understand, we have an obligation to elevate the audience. They need to be better people because they've seen our content." And I just I thought that stuck with us. I think he kind of put words to something we kind of wanted to do anyway. But, not saying that there isn't a room in the entertainment universe for a lot of different kinds of content. But for us, we kind of felt like, I like the idea that you could watch something, have a great time, be very entertained, laugh, but then maybe it leaves you with a little something, That's my hope anyway.
Yeah, I think that's something I very much appreciated, is that it felt real, is that it was able to tackle such a serious issue, because there's so many people who are always living in the red. It's like literally one bad medical accident, it's like you're done. And that's something I brought up in my video talking about the class struggles for the show. And I think, and to hear you guys say that you brought in families and actually talked to them about this stuff, I think that's just how it comes across as so genuine, because it's like, this is a real problem that many people face. And for a kid series to speak on that, because to me, I feel kids media is always the most important type of media, because it's like, this is who, they're the youths who are going to grow up and need to learn these lessons and such, and they're going to be the ones to have to make a difference. And the way you guys did it in these episodes for season 1, I think it's just amazing that it was able to come across so perfectly.
Thank you. And I oh, go ahead, Bob.
I don't want to spoil anything for season 2, but I'll say, we have episodes that deal with similar kinds of issues. Maybe not necessarily economic issues, but, stuff that is this heart-wrenching, and members of our audience will see themselves in it. And we're super proud of those episodes. We're also super proud of the episodes that are,
just goofy fun
just goofy romp. Right. But every now and again, we want to throw a curveball at the audience and say, look, here's something at a little more emotional depth.
Yeah.
Going back to the Out of House and Home episodes, the great irony of it all is, our show is animated in Canada. Geniuses at Mercury Filmworks do, make this episode, and the irony of them doing a show about how disastrous the consequences of the American medical healthcare system can be. There was a sort of, we're happy to do this.
Is this really how this works?
It's like, guys, it is how it works.
Well, and what kind of shocked me was, at the end of the episode, which is a very sort of It's a Wonderful Life moment, where the whole town comes together, to pay off the debt for the Mcgees so they could get back on their house. I was shocked that the majority of what GoFundMe campaigns are for people paying off medical bills and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just, so it's not that the answer to the issues that episode raises really isn't answered in the episode, because I think that's a much more complicated thing. But I feel like hopefully part of what we do is just create a little bit of a conversation, and hopefully it's something that kids can talk to their parents about. And part of what I like too that happens in the show is Molly turns to her parents and says, "Is everything going to be okay?" And you've got her mom and dad having a very kind of different response, because as parents it's hard when you have to give the economic bad news to your kids about certain things.
But the other element of it is that we hope that this becomes a seed that sprouts into a tree, right? Like we explain this to the audience that here's our healthcare system. It's not great. In other episodes, we hint that Molly has a future as a mayor and perhaps beyond a mayor. So and we hope that kids see like, oh, if Molly could be a mayor, I could be a mayor, or a council person, or a state representative, or a representative in the House of or in the House of Representatives, or senator, and then they are in a position. This is way down the road, years and years in the future, but these little seeds that we plan to hopefully spring into mighty trees that solve these problems. That
and become engaged in their community in a variety of ways. Yeah,
right. So
I think that's what I do appreciate the most, is that feeling of community. Like we start seeing it now, like recently, like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, they show off more of getting involved with the community, because it's like you don't want to, because it's never a case of you want to just be we need leaders. It's like, no, we need community. We need to all come together to really solve these problems that are hurting us right now. And I think this show is doing a great job in showing Molly constantly doing as much as she can, trying to get involved, constantly talking to whoever she can to try to as for lack of a better term, enhappify people to want to actually do something. Because Brighton, it does start off so depressed and everything clearly is not going right, but then somebody with a positive attitude inspires people, and I think this show does that really well to showcase you got to inspire people to want to do better. We got to talk to each other if we want to get stuff moving. It takes a community to make a movement.
So what a little bit of trivia I was going to tell Brighton itself, the why we came up with it. One of my best buddies that I go walking with in the mornings and all that stuff, he lives on Brighton Street, and we were trying to think of the name, and I saw Brighton and I thought, Brighton, like brighten the day, brighten your town. And I was like, Brighton. It's just so
I came into the office very excited that day.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, fine.
Brighton. Sure, why not?
You can have that one.
Well, I think it turns out pretty well. Now the city is something to aspire to for the city at that point.
Yep.
What were you going to say, Bob? I'm sorry.
You're going to see more of what you were talking about there. Season 2, there's a handful of episodes where it's definitely about trying to make these movements by yourself isn't going to work. You need a community behind you. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a little seed, a little nugget to chew on while you wait for season 2 to come through.
All right. Well, I do want to get into a little bit of certain characters, particularly a fan favorite. Libby is certainly that major fan favorite. She sort of breaks the mold with being that shy best friend, but gaining her confidence throughout the series. So I do wonder, like, what went into her development?
Boy, we knew we wanted Molly to have a human best friend, right? Somebody she could talk to in the human world. And I don't think there was ever one moment where Libby came to us fully formed. She just kind of was like a snowball rolling down a hill. It's like she accumulated more and more, and we're like, oh, this little aspect of Libby. Her heritage is interesting. Her mom's a single parent who runs a bookstore. Like all these things sort of just
she likes turtles, which then influenced the turtleneck shirt,
the
and
turtleneck
her colors,
shirt, right?
and,
Yeah, all
all
these
of
little
that.
funny bits kind of came together, and then Laura Jill Miller coming through as the voice of Libby was sort of the cherry on top of it all, the thing that kind of made it all coalesce into this character that everybody loves. We love Libby as much as the fans do, maybe more even.
And her, we kind of thought it was funny too to have, if she's a very shy introvert, having a overly rambunctious extrovert, overly, it's a funny comic pairing. And her ethnicity was inspired by one of our executives that we work closely with, who that is he's Argentinian Jewish, and that was something we wanted to model too. We like that specificity, and it gave us a lot of neat opportunities to explore.
And that contrast between her and Molly sort of mirrors what is the what's going on with Molly and Scratch. So we knew that like once we got to the point where Libby met Scratch and knew him, now there's a whole there's moments like you see in the Snow Day episode where like these two are going to be allies against Molly in a way that
some of the time
happy. So that struck us as super fun.
Yeah, but she's so delightful. The other thing that was strange was that Laura is a Broadway actor and probably one of the best singers of the whole entire cast, and we made her character unable to sing.
That said, without spoiling how we're going to do it, you're going to get to hear Libby sing beautifully this next season.
Yes, there will be. Yes. So we were like, well, that was dumb.
Laura got her chance.
Let's see if we can redeem that. Yeah.
I mean, it still came out a pretty funny joke. The fact that makes it funnier. I'm pretty sure people who listen in on this now are going to be like, "Oh, that episode's hilarious!" Even more now.
Well,
with the fact that the
thing of it was like we had to say to her, "It's like we know you can sing beautifully. Sorry to do this to you. Can you sing terribly?" And Laura was up for it, no problem. She's like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Very funny.
And nailed singing terribly. But she was also like, "Does this mean I'm never going to get a chance to sing beautifully?" And we're like, "We'll find a way to do it. We'll find it.
We'll see what we can do."
There's stuff coming down the pike.
Yes.
I think that's definitely going to be something many are excited to hear.
Yep. There's some really good Libby episodes coming up this season.
But yeah, thankfully. And I do want to say with Libby, she sort of is a subversion because usually you have like the best friend can't know the secret, but as this season was as the first season was going on, like midway through, she ends up learning about Scratch and everything. And it's kind of interesting because it's like sometimes a lot of time it's like they learn the secret by the second season or the third maybe, but that's sort of what speaks to what's really interesting about the show is that it does do that subversion, because we even see this a bit with Andrea. At first you think like the introduction episode for her, you think, oh, she's got to be like your typical prissy school bully and that and such, but it's like no, she actually has a bit of a tragedy to her because her parents are a bit neglectful,
and then you will see more of that in season 2 as well.
I will
you'll
say get to learn a lot more about Andrea. And Libby.
We our initial first blush take on Andrea was that she was the prissy bully, and what came to us out of testing the show, the pilot, was that's not very interesting. We've seen that before. Give us something new. And so we really put our heads together to think about okay,
how can we grow Andrea?
What is behind that? What is behind this bully essentially, and who is she and why is she the way she is? And you got some glimpses of it in season 1, and season 2 you're going to see a lot more of what is going on behind the smile, behind the influence.
All right, that's definitely something to look forward to, because I know a lot of people definitely like Andrea, and they probably were like, I really want to see more of that, especially when you introduce the fact that like it was the one with the fundraiser, and we find out it's like, oh, she's doing this just to get her parents' attention. It's like, okay, you're interesting now. Let's see. I want to see where that goes.
Andrea's going to go through some things in season 2, and it's going to be there are going to be some rough times ahead for her, but she's going to emerge a better person for it at the end.
All right. Well, I do have to ask with characters like Andrea and Libby building more into that subversiveness for the show. Like, would you both say that the show was always going for that breaking the mold type of angle?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do what you've seen 1,000 times before. So
if only because it's not interesting to us anymore.
Yeah, exactly. We're always looking for new challenges in every which way we do things. So yeah, new challenges in the storytelling, new challenges in the characters, new challenges in the way things are boarded, and everything. If we're not finding new challenges in the show, Bill and I do get bored, and so yeah. We're always looking to break the mold one way or another.
All right. So I do want to ask, with the season 2 coming through and us getting that new trailer, it seems like there's going to be episodes tackling the subject of periods.
Yes.
Which, it builds more on that relatability factor. And I do want to know, was that something you guys wanted to get into for the first season but couldn't? Or was it always just let's try that for season 2?
No, it was that came out of the writer's room. I think Perry, our writer's assistant, was the one who led the charge on that. She pitched it, and we're like,
yeah, that sounds great.
Let's take that. That's not something we've seen over and over and over again. That's a fun idea. We can do it. Disney was super supportive, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It just we let Perry and our story editor Madison lead the charge on that one, and it came out beautifully.
Well, one of the things I think that's fun about season 2s is that you've laid this groundwork in season 1, and now you get to sort of play in it a little more. Right. You get to kind of go deeper and explore some things, and I that makes me happy. There's a number of things like that the period episode where we're kind of exploring a little more about the depth of the person and the life experiences and surprises, and
it's definitely a rite of passage, and to pretend these things don't happen is not doing any service to our audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's something I do find. I find it kind of bold because it's like, okay, that's something that it felt like a big no in kids media. It's like, you can't tackle that. Just don't tackle it. Don't touch it. No, and keep it away.
We may well get some blowback from some quarters. I don't care. I feel like, these are stories worth telling that are helping our audience deal with,
it turns out a significant part of humanity experiences.
So let's normalize these things. Let's normalize the conversation around, periods.
Yeah. And I will say, though, it was kind of fun to see, like, how far can we push some of the jokes. So there's a clip in the trailer about, the wings aspect of it. I was like, is this too far? Can we, whatever? And it was really funny, and Disney was on board, and we thought it was good, and played that awkwardness because, as a husband and a father, I've been sent to the store many a time, and the Pete scene is me. That's me trying to figure out, what am I supposed to get here? So, yeah,
I think that's something that's going to speak to both adults and kids alike, especially fathers who have to shop for their daughters on that. So it's going to be interesting to see how, like, everyone else reacts to that.
For sure.
Like, I could see so many fathers being like, I feel so seen.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to make sure that this show is not, we want to make sure we get kids, because that's our job. But we want to make sure that if mom and dad are sitting down to watch next to them, there's something there for them too that makes them say, hey, I liked that. I enjoyed that show. I might have even watched it even if the kid wasn't here sitting next to me. So we want to find a show that does that.
Yeah, I like it that when this is something that can be experienced together as a family.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, with everything going on with the new season about to come on, and I know we already discussed a few things here and there with the new season. I do have to ask, without going into any spoilers, obviously, is there any other things to look forward to for season 2.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you know what I'll say? Yeah. Jinx. Jinx is back and she's fantastic. Liza
Yep.
Koshy brings her
Amazing.
Brings so much
Yep.
vivacious energy to her.
We're
We
going to be
absolutely love
exploring
Jinx.
who Scratch was a little more.
Yeah. Gonna learn some things about Scratch too and his backstory.
Yes. Yep. And
that's always been like a huge request. Going back to like the pilot, like who was he? And we've always said, we're gonna get there. We're gonna take our sweet time with it.
So now we're getting there. And you're going to learn more about the ghosts, the Ghost Council ghosts, Jeff. And so, I think it's going to be kind of neat. And plus, at the end of season 1, again, if your audience hasn't seen it yet, this is a spoiler. So, there's a big change in the ghost world. So the chairman's gone, and that is a huge shift for what life is like in the ghost world. So part of it is the fun of what does that mean now?
Okay. Because I will admit the Ghost Council, especially the chairman, was an interesting thing to see. Because with the chairman, it's like, okay, that looks like the Grim Reaper.
Yep.
It's like, okay, what's that about?
Yep.
That was very much by design. So the absence of the chairman has, ripples throughout the entire show.
Yeah. So
fun to see.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely going to be an interesting way. It's definitely going to be interesting to see exactly how those ripples take effect for both Molly and Scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned. Fun stuff coming up.
All right, then. This has been a very fun interview. I am so glad you guys were able to join me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Very much appreciate you guys coming on. It was very fun to talk about Ghost Molly Mcgee and get all this nice gossip about it. I call it gossip, but it's like, but yeah, really appreciate you guys.
Really
yes, thank you very much, and
thank you.
Yes, I hope your listeners will go check it out if they haven't yet. And there's more adventure to come.
Yeah, you can see the entire first season on Disney Plus, and if you haven't, get caught up and. Cool stuff coming in season 2, April 1st.
All right. Y'all heard it here. Y'all can check out the Ghost of Molly Mcgee right now, the first season on Disney Plus, and look forward to the second season premiere on April 1st, and next day some episodes drop later on Disney Plus. So be sure to look out for that. And always remember, it's just a thought. The opinions expressed in this are of the individual guests and only of the individual guests and not of their employers. Thank you.